I was really cracking up last night. I'm going to play this here and want you to respond just to see, because Fox News is about to go ham on black people and young voters because that fool Herschel lost. Listen to Laura Ingraham, who was raised by a Nazi sympathizer, whine and shed these red MAGA tears.
Guys, we appreciate it. Bill, stay with us. All right, we have more. All right, we're not going to more. We got to go to Molly Hemingway. Sorry, I have a whole script in front of me. Molly Hemingway and, of course, Kellyanne Conway. Molly, you and I talked about this about a week ago. We felt this coming. To me, it never felt like the Senate Republicans wanted this guy in office. He was a Trump pick. They didn't like that. They probably like him as a person, Herschel as a person. But there wasn't the intensity on the part of the Republicans as there was on the part of the Democrats. I felt it. You felt it. But we don't change anything. We have the same people in place in leadership, same people in place apparently at the RNC. Perhaps that's not changing. We just keep doing the same thing over and over again. I'm pissed tonight, frankly. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's really offensive.
I'm mad.
For Republican voters, for Republican donors who have put so much into having some wins, and they just see kind of failure across the board. There aren't people who are working on early voting or banking ballots. There's no clear messaging. I mean, you look at what happened since the midterm elections, where you had a Senate that basically responded to those disappointing midterm losses by doing nothing other than sabotaging their own base. What is the case for voting Republican for the Senate after these midterms? I don't think one was even attempted to be made. And yeah, nothing seems to be changing. But you didn't see a lot of enthusiasm down there. Of course, the spending was completely
3-1.
It was just.
Look at how close it was, though. I mean, in the end, what did we say? This was winnable, Kellyanne. I know you don't want any change. You want Ronna McDaniel. I like Ronna McDaniel. Isn't this like a warning sign flashing, or are we just going to keep doing the same thing all over again every single election?
Well,
Kevin McCarthy won the House. He won the House.
Yes, he did. And we were outspent 3-1 here.
Why?
There's no excuse in Georgia for us not to have done what Brian Kemp did. Yes, he's the incumbent governor. He's very popular. He's running against Stacey Abrams. But he turned out over his micro-targeting plan, his grassroots people, and I guess Mitch McConnell's group funded it. But they did that in the last couple of days.
He funded it?
4 weeks ago.
Did Mitch McConnell appear down
there? The whining. Larry, they're so upset. Trust me. When she said, I'm pissed, their fangs are going to come out.
Speaking of fangs, maybe Herschel Walker shouldn't have been talking about vampires and werewolves and talk about the importance of maintaining Medicare and Social Security. Look, Roland, listen, let's be clear. I worked on a number of campaigns, and he was a bad candidate, but he was handpicked by Trump, their guy, Fox News' guy. Well, I don't know if he's their guy anymore. They seem to be making a turn, but he just wasn't a good candidate. He couldn't articulate policy issues. He couldn't articulate anything. He was a terrible candidate. And like I said, I worked on a number of campaigns, but he's one of the worst candidates that I've seen in recent memory. And that's saying a lot considering some of the Republican candidates we've seen over the last few years. But the bottom line is, if you're not talking about important issues that are, we talk about, families that sit at the dinner table and have conversations. Obviously, we're talking about issues relating to inflation, in which they talk about a lot, but then in support the Inflation Reduction Act. There are a lot of issues out there that Americans care about that Herschel Walker and the Republican Party aren't talking about. Roland, we've talked about on your show in terms of how they lost, and the recent election, they lost young folks 18 to 29. That's because they're fighting against student loan debt and all these other women's reproductive rights, all these other issues that demographic and people from racially ethnic backgrounds care about. But the Republicans ignore that. What they do is they pass more restrictive laws to make it difficult for more black folks to vote. We saw the long lines in Georgia again. Now, what we should do is we should be at a further level focusing on how to address those kinds of issues and making sure Americans have money in their pocket, child tax credit, et cetera. But they don't want to talk about those issues. They want to talk about critical race theory, like I said, vampires and werewolves and all kinds of other, characters we see on television. But that's not what Americans want to hear about. They want to hear about important topics and what are the issues you focus on or highlight that will have a positive impact on my life.
Indeed. All right, folks. The memes have been flying all around. This is probably one of the funniest ones I've seen today. Right here. The Georgia werewolf hunter yes, a one-way ticket back to Texas. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.